In Jeremiah chapter 12, in verse 1, Jeremiah begins a complaint to God. And he says, "Why is it that I and others who follow you and are righteous, why are we suffering? While the evil and those who have rejected you, they seem to be doing well." And God gives Jeremiah a somewhat uncomfortable answer in verse 5 of chapter 12. He says, "If you have raced with men on foot, and they have wearied you, how will you compete with horses?" God is warning Jeremiah that there is much worse to come. In fact, he goes on to talk about the fact that not only does he have to deal with, now he's dealing with the unrighteous in Judah, but God is saying, I'm going to bring a foreign nation in and they're going to come in and destroy everything. This doesn't seem like a very encouraging answer in some ways, but I think that the Bible wants us to remember that it is critically important that we are in a long-term race. We are in it for the long haul, and God prepares us for what is going to happen to us. As we read about in 1 Corinthians 10:13, he provides a way through every temptation, a way to endure every situation. God will always be with us. God will always prepare us. I think of my grandmother who in her early 40s suffered a severe stroke that left her largely paralyzed on one side, and she spent years recovering from that. She eventually regained most of her abilities, but then when she was in her late 60s, she came down with a disease called ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease, in which gradually the body, you lose the ability to move, and you sort of become trapped in your own body over the course of several years until eventually you die. And she always said that that experience, that difficulty that she went through in her 40s, of going through that stroke was what prepared her and enabled her and strengthened her to be able to endure the difficulty that was the disease that eventually took her life. She was faithful to the end. She kept hold of that truth and worked to serve those who were helping her with her daily needs. We are called to have a long-term view and to recognize that what God is doing now is not an accident, and that what God is doing now is not unexpected or outside of his plan. Rather, what God is doing right now in our lives, whatever difficulty we're enduring right now, this is a preparation. Now, I pray, God, you don't have something worse than this happening to you later in life, and quite possibly there won't be. But God is preparing you not only for the rest of this life, but for all of eternity. And I can guarantee you that my grandmother went into heaven with a fuller and deeper understanding of God's sufficiency and of God's grace and of God's strengthening and abilities. And she relied more fully upon God than I ever have, because I have not endured such sufferings myself. I know that's not a huge encouragement in some ways. What's encouraging to me usually is to know that my difficulty is going to be gone soon. And in terms of eternity, all of our difficulties will be gone soon. And we shall enjoy eternity with God. If we have an overly rosy picture of this world, if we think that Jesus was wrong when he said, "In this world you will have trouble," then we can easily be discouraged. We fall victims and prey to Satan and his temptations. We will not be faithful like Job when he suffered, but rather be like his wife who said, "Just curse God and die." But if we have a full view of both the difficulty of this world and the joys that are to come, then we can endure with good hope and faith, knowing that God has not abandoned us, but is preparing us for a weight of glory beyond anything we can imagine. So go forth, brothers and sisters, in endurance this day.